The Galactic Empire had ruled the Outer Rim for centuries, its banners stretching over hundreds of conquered worlds. Species after species had bowed under the weight of its fleets, its precision armies, its cold and flawless bureaucracy. The Empire believed it understood every type of sentient life. The ambitious, the meek, the defiant. It cataloged and classified them all, reducing cultures to profiles and rebellions to statistical anomalies. When humans appeared on the Empire's charts, they were marked as an energetic but minor race, adaptable, stubborn, and irritating, but never truly dangerous. The Empire recorded their wars, their short lifespans, and their stubborn tendency to resist authority, but ultimately dismissed them as yet another species that would fall in line with sufficient displays of power. On a newly annexed frontier colony, a single human couple stood accused of treason. They had refused to surrender local resistance leaders, sabotaged supply depots, and outmaneuvered patrol squads sent to hunt them. Imperial officers considered this an insult to their prestige. The High Council declared an example must be made. These two humans would not be quietly executed. They would be burned alive before the eyes of thousands as a spectacle of dominance. Imperial broadcasts were arranged to cover every moment, ensuring that any thought of human defiance would be extinguished in flame. The aliens tasked with arranging the execution did not worry about escape. The humans were restrained with molecular shackles, dragged through armored corridors under the gaze of surveillance drones, and thrown into an energy cage that pulsed bright and hot. Observers noted the calm expressions on their faces as they were paraded before a crowd of onlookers, alien dignitaries, soldiers in ornate armor, and citizens curious to see what primitives looked like before they died. Most prisoners screamed, cursed, or begged for mercy during such public punishments. These two humans did neither. They studied their surroundings as though taking notes, their eyes steady, unafraid. In council chambers above the execution ground, alien administrators congratulated themselves. They believed this display would be efficient propaganda. Two fragile creatures erased in an inferno, broadcast across a dozen sectors. Advisors argued over which method of ignition would be most symbolic. Should the torches be lit by plasma lances or ceremonial fire sabers? The debate was meaningless, because the outcome was never in doubt. The humans were secured, their weapons confiscated, their bodies scanned and stripped of any implants or hidden tools. The Empire believed that all possibilities had been considered. When the day arrived, the spectacle unfolded exactly as planned. At first, the couple was led to a circular pit lined with fusion-fed pyres. Energy whips cracked in the air as the announcer declared their crimes: sabotage, conspiracy, and refusal to submit to the benevolent order of the Empire. The crowd jeered. Soldiers raised banners. Cameras floated above, projecting every image to distant viewers. The humans stood shoulder to shoulder, their posture unerringly straight, their breathing even. Some watching officers frowned at this lack of fear, but none questioned the outcome. The ignition signal was given. The pyres roared to life, white-hot flames climbing into the air, heat rippling across the pit walls. Spectators leaned forward, expecting screams. Instead, they saw a movement, subtle, wrong, and impossible. In the heart of the fire, through the shimmering veil of heat, the humans did not writhe or collapse. The flames closed around them, and for a fraction of a second, they seemed to vanish into the blinding light. When the fire dimmed enough for eyes and sensors to register the scene, the pit was empty. Shock spread like static across the broadcast. Officers barked orders, thinking it a malfunction. Soldiers rushed to seal the area, scanning for life signs, assuming that some rescue team had intervened. But there were no signals, no breach alarms, no trace of outside help. The humans were simply gone. In the corridors surrounding the execution grounds, guards began to fall, silently, suddenly, with wounds so precise they barely bled. Surveillance feeds flickered, and by the time emergency squads arrived, only bodies remained. The humans were not fleeing in panic. They were moving with purpose, cutting to the complex with calculated speed. The first recovered helmet recording showed a soldier catching a glimpse of something in the darkness. Two shapes moving low and fast, eyes reflecting light like predators in a forest. Then the feed ended with a sharp motion and static. Drones deployed to track them never returned. Every door they passed sealed itself behind them, not through brute force, but through quiet manipulation of access codes the Empire had believed unbreakable. By nightfall, whispers ran through the garrison. The prisoners were not prey. The High Council ordered every asset on the colony to hunt them down. Commanders promised swift recapture. Yet deep in their private discussions, unease crept in. Humans were known to be resourceful. But this was different. These were not rebels fighting for an ideology. They moved like predators stalking prey, not in anger, but with cold, patient intent. They left no trails, no heat signatures, no scent for alien trackers to follow. They seemed to know the terrain better than natives who had lived there for generations. Interrogations of local settlers revealed fragments of the truth. The man had once hunted deep forests for days without food, tracking wounded beasts until they collapsed from exhaustion. The woman had served in Earth's covert strike teams, trained to live off the land and move unseen through hostile terrain. Together they had survived on worlds the Empire considered uninhabitable. Their skill sets had nothing to do with advanced technology and everything to do with ancient human instincts. Persistence hunting, patience, and a relentless drive to finish what they started. The Empire did not understand that when humans evolved, they did so as predators among predators. While other species hid or ran, humanity had learned to chase prey until it dropped dead from fear and exhaustion. That primal heritage slept quietly in most people, but when cornered, when threatened, it woke up. In the case of this man and woman, it was fully awake. Soldiers began to whisper that the couple could smell fear. Some swore they saw their silhouettes clinging to walls where no foothold existed. Others claimed the humans used no weapons, just their hands and improvised tools pulled from nowhere. Reports came of bodies found in locked rooms, throats crushed with pinpoint force, identification tags missing, access code erased. The humans didn't run from the soldiers hunting them. They studied them, dismantled them, and vanished again, leaving only corpses as messages. Panic set in when officers realized this was no escape attempt. The humans were not merely surviving. They were preparing for something. What had begun as an execution was now a hunt, and the prey had quietly switched places with the hunters. The Empire, so proud of its order and precision, had no defense against an enemy that thrived in chaos. The burning pit meant to kill the humans had become their passage into the shadows. The colony lay under curfew, yet no one slept. Streets emptied, lights dimmed, sensors scanned endlessly, and still the alarms would sound without warning as another squad failed to report in. The humans had slipped through fire and steel, and now they moved unseen through every corridor, every canyon, every shadow. The soldiers searching for them were well-armed, disciplined, and equipped with the Empire's best technology, yet they returned fewer in number every day, if they returned at all. At first, commanders assumed the fugitives were running for the wilderness. Search patterns extended far into forests and mountain passes, orbital drones combing the terrain with thermal sweeps. But the scans found nothing, because the humans were not running. They were circling. They struck supply depots under heavy guard, leaving sentries dead at their posts with no alarms triggered. Patrols vanished in silence, their weapons untouched, their armor intact, their identification tags missing. When bodies were recovered, every blow was precise, every cut deliberate. These were not frantic kills. They were lessons. The High Council grew restless. The Empire had crushed entire planetary uprisings in days. But here, against only 2 individuals, they were bleeding manpower and prestige. Officers spoke in hushed tones about how the prisoners seemed to know their movements before orders were even given. Every ambush the soldiers planned collapsed into confusion, as if the humans had walked the routes hours earlier, memorized every blind corner, every scent of oil and metal. Tracking them was impossible. Standard bioscanners failed. Human physiology blended too easily with the environment. Heat detectors showed no consistent trail, because the fugitives moved only when the ground cooled and the air fell still. They masked their scent with local vegetation and erased their footprints with deceptive patterns. Even the Empire's trained hounds panicked, refusing to follow. No alien could grasp how 2 unarmed humans could cross fortified perimeters without leaving a trace, but this was no mystery to Earth's own predators. They did it as instinct, not as magic. The first counterattack, was swift and costly. The Empire deployed drones armed with pulse rifles, scanning fields and shifting grids. The drones stopped transmitting within minutes. When recovery teams arrived, they found every unit dismantled, not destroyed by gunfire or explosives, but taken apart by hand, as if the humans wanted to study them. This frightened the technicians most of all. Nothing about it was random. Soon after, whispers spread through the ranks. Soldiers spoke of voices in the dark, sounds of footsteps circling their camps, breathing that wasn't their own. Some swore they saw shapes watching from treetops, eyes glinting faintly in the starlight. Commanders dismissed these reports as nerves, until an entire outpost went silent. No shots fired, no alarms tripped. Only the morning discovery of 20 soldiers lying where they had stood, every one killed with a single, efficient strike. On the wall above them, carved with a blade into the metal plating, were 4 words in Galactic Standard. You started the fire. The Council called for heavier measures. Armored transport sealed city streets. Atmospheric sweepers poisoned entire valleys to flush the fugitives out, and bounty announcements promised rewards to anyone who betrayed their location. No one came forward. Fear was stronger than greed. Even settlers who disliked humans refused to speak against them, because they had seen what happened to those who did. Psychological warfare turned the colony into a haunted world. Loudspeakers blared orders, but the humans used those same speakers to broadcast distorted sounds. Imperial officers' own voices, played back with slight, chilling changes. False commands lured squads into traps where they vanished one by one. Motion detectors went off in empty corridors, forcing soldiers to fire at shadows until their magazines ran dry. Rations spoiled without reason. Generators failed without sabotage devices ever being found. The humans used no high technology. They didn't need it. They relied on patience, cunning, and the oldest hunting skill of all. They never tired. Aliens who had never known real fear now learned it intimately. Their species had evolved in safe environments, nurtured by technology from birth. They had no concept of predators that chased prey for days, that tracked by persistence rather than speed. But these 2 humans had grown up on Earth, where to eat meant to stalk and kill, and to survive meant enduring pain, hunger, and exhaustion longer than whatever you pursued. The couple hunted in silence, communicating with subtle glances, brief gestures, or not at all. Every strike was coordinated, every retreat part of a larger pattern. They were dismantling the Empire piece by piece. Attempts to corner them only fed the myth. On the 3rd week, an elite Imperial squad, genetically enhanced, heavily armed, led by decorated veterans, was dispatched to root them out. The squad never returned. Recon teams sent after them found only their equipment arranged neatly in a clearing, every soldier gone. No blood, no signs of struggle. The humans had taken them alive. What happened afterward remained unknown, but the next night the commanding officer of that squad was found hanging in the center of the Capitol Square, a warning tag pinned to his chest. Not prey. The humans were no longer hiding. They were sending messages. Governors who once bragged of human weakness now traveled with double guards, yet still disappeared in transit. Supply convoys carrying food and weapons reached destinations empty, the crews missing without trace. The Empire flooded the colony with reinforcements, but the more soldiers they sent, the more targets the hunters had. Desperation set in when the couple infiltrated an Imperial command base, the most secure installation on the planet. Surveillance feeds showed the entire garrison alert, every door locked, every drone in the air. Yet within an hour the lights flickered and communications dropped. When contact was reestablished, not a single soldier remained alive. The couple had passed through armored walls and sealed gates as if they weren't there. The only sound recovered from black box audio was a quiet tapping, rhythmic and steady, echoing through empty halls before the silence swallowed everything. No weapon could kill what no one could see. No scanner could track what moved without a trace. And the fear of being hunted spread faster than any human could run. Soldiers begged to be reassigned. Entire platoons deserted rather than patrol the night. The Empire ordered orbital bombardments of suspected hideouts, turning forests and cities to glass. But the humans never stayed long enough to be caught. And every bombardment only deepened local hatred for the invaders. giving a couple more allies, more places to vanish, more eyes watching for them. The turning point came when the humans struck not at soldiers, but at the command structure itself. Late one night, high-ranking officials gathered in a secure tower to coordinate countermeasures. Security systems confirmed no breaches. Armored guards patrolled every level. Yet when dawn came, the council chamber doors opened to reveal every official dead at the table, throats cut with surgical precision. Not a single alarm had sounded. The surveillance record was blank except for one frame, a shadow passing briefly across the far wall, then gone. The Empire's grip on the colony had broken long before its leaders admitted it. The military still occupied cities, but curfews no longer frightened civilians. They feared only the two humans moving through the dark. Soldiers marched in formation, but their eyes scanned every rooftop, every vent, every shadow. Patrols refused to travel after sunset. Entire garrisons stayed locked in barracks, weapons drawn, waiting for footsteps that never came. Fear hollowed them out long before any blade did. The High Council gathered in emergency session aboard an orbiting dreadnought, certain that space would protect them. The couple had slaughtered ground commanders, dismantled supply lines, and burned outposts without ever being seen. But ships in orbit were sealed fortresses, immune to terrestrial predators, or so the Council believed. The humans had no fleet, no transports, no allies with starships. They were just two individuals, isolated on the surface. Logic said they could never reach the council chamber. Yet as the meeting began, officers glanced uneasily at sealed doors and humming ventilation shafts, knowing logic had failed them before. The humans were not running. They were expanding their hunt. The first targets were not soldiers, but fuel depots and orbital elevator terminals. Communication satellites winked out one by one, as if swallowed by the void. Automated defenses meant to stop them activated too late, or not at all, their programming corrupted by unseen hands. The Empire's secure channels filled with fragments of static and unfamiliar breathing. What began as a manhunt had become a campaign of annihilation. Every colony administrator who once mocked the humans vanished. Some were found hanging in public squares with their insignia burned off. Others were never found at all. Broadcast stations meant for imperial propaganda instead aired brief, wordless clips of gutted bases and emptied armories. No threats, no demands, only proof that the hunters were everywhere. The psychological toll was catastrophic. Soldiers executed civilians on suspicion of aiding humans, but every atrocity only gave a couple more shelter, more food, more willing informants. Entire towns volunteered to hide them, though none ever saw them enter or leave. The Empire deployed hunter-killer teams in full battle armor, reinforced by mechanized drones and orbital surveillance. They failed just like every squad before them. Soldiers vanished from sealed corridors. Weapons were found stacked neatly outside emptied barracks. Surveillance drones recorded nothing but their own systems shutting down. The hunters left no trace, but corpses. This was no war. It was culling. When the humans struck the first major starport, they did not use explosives or heavy weapons. They dismantled entire power grids by hand, cutting through armored conduits with tools improvised from scavenged scrap. By the time reinforcements arrived, transports were dead hulks, fuel stores corrupted, docking clamps fused in place. The humans walked away unseen, leaving hundreds stranded without supplies. The message was unmistakable. The Empire's strength meant nothing. Rumors spread across nearby sectors. Alien merchant crews whispered that humans hunted without rest, that they could pass through walls, that they drank fear itself. Refugees fled from worlds under imperial control rather than risk being caught between the hunters and the soldiers they stalked. In the Council's own archives, analysts finally pieced together the truth. These were not rebels or criminals acting out of desperation. They were specialists, warriors shaped by Earth's harshest environments, trained to endure anything, and refined by instincts older than the stars. The Council doubled security on its dreadnought, lining every corridor with armed guards and sealing the hangar decks. Yet one by one, bulkhead doors froze, surveillance feeds went black, and life sign monitors began to report nothing but static. A patrol vanished on Deck 12, another on Deck 10. By the time the Council ordered evacuation to escape pods, every launch tube was already locked down from the inside. The hunters had boarded without ships, without passes, without alarms. The slaughter was methodical. No firefights, no explosions. Only silence broken by brief, sharp sounds that echoed down the dreadnought's metallic halls. Guards disappeared mid-patrol. Officers trying to raise their weapons never finished the motion. Systems meant to track intruders gave false readings. Humans moving on every deck at once or nowhere at all. The dreadnought's crew, thousands strong, huddled in sealed compartments, praying the bulkheads would hold. They did not. Hours later, the dreadnought drifted powerless above the colony. Its signal beacon blinked for rescue, but when responding ships docked, they found the vessel empty. No bodies, no survivors. Every counselor, every soldier aboard, gone. In the command chamber, a single phrase was burned into the deck plating. The fire spreads. Panic consumed the Empire. Neighboring governors fortified their capitals, begging for reinforcements. Fleet admirals recalled ships to core sectors, abandoning frontier worlds. Soldiers muttered that the humans could not be killed, that they would follow anyone who escaped. Recruitment plummeted. Whole battalions deserted. Star systems declared neutrality rather than risk drawing the hunters' attention. The Empire, proud and unyielding for centuries, crumbled from the inside. The humans never made speeches. They issued no ultimatums, no declarations of revenge. Their silence was worse than any threat. Imperial intelligence tried to guess their destination, but the couple moved unpredictably, striking world at random, erasing garrisons, toppling governors. They never stayed to occupy territory or rule. They destroyed and vanished, leaving only fear in their wake. Within months, entire sectors lay outside Imperial control. The fleet pulled back to defend the core worlds, but even there, soldiers locked their doors at night, terrified of footsteps in empty halls. Whenever a leader promised safety, their body turned up within days, killed without trace. The humans had no need for armies. They were an army of two, armed with patience sharper than any blade. The Empire finally understood what it faced, but too late. These were not anomalies to be crushed, not savages to be taught obedience. They were the living embodiment of humanity's oldest truth. Corner a hunter, and it does not flee. It turns and stalks. Other species have forgotten the primal game of predator and prey. Humans never had. By the end of the campaign, no High Council remained to issue orders. Capitals burned without bombardment. Warships vanished from secure docks, and the Imperial crest was smeared across walls in dust and ash. Every surviving officer spoke of eyes in the dark, of breathing too steady to belong to prey. The legend spread farther than humans themselves, across trade lanes, pirate dens, neutral worlds. The story was always the same. Two humans, captured and condemned to die by fire, had walked through the flames and hunted their hunters until an empire fell. Long after the couple disappeared, alien civilizations whispered their warning to every commander, every governor, every soldier tempted to underestimate humanity. The words passed from world to world, changing languages but never meaning.